This is Beach Talk Radio.
Good morning, Mr. and Mrs. America, and all ships at sea. This is your captain speaking, Dean Jean. Dean Jean. The following will be a test of the ship's whistle, the sonar alarm, the cable alarm, and the atomic attack alarm.
Hello, America, and welcome to the #1 radio station in all of Fort Myers Beach. Beach Talk Radio. Here are your hosts, Kim and Ed Ryan.
And a good Monday evening to you, everybody. A special Monday night show tonight. We're going to talk to Ben Freeland from Moss Marina and get the full lowdown on what's proposed for that area of Fort Myers Beach. Before we do that, I did want to let everybody know what's going on this Saturday real quick. Following our show, which will feature Matt Landau from the Landau Law Firm, they're going to have a little area set up where they're going to have, I don't know, appetizers or a free drink or something. And if you have any issues concerning your insurance or something that's going on with your home, it's going to be one of the rare opportunities for you to ask an attorney for free advice. It's the Landau Law Firm, which will be next Saturday. Matt's going to be on the show, and then he's going to stay after and take your questions privately or in a group right there at Wahoo Willie. So come on down to the show and watch it live because we'll be asking him riveting questions, of course, and then you can ask him your own personal questions after that. So that's Saturday. And then the big show at 4:30 at Moss Marina. And we want to thank Matt for allowing us to have our little concert and fundraiser. I'm sorry, Matt. Ben Freeland. Sorry. Where did I get Matt from? It's Ben.
Hey, I can change it if we need to.
I did want to thank you for allowing us to have the show and to raise, supplies for the Beach Kids Foundation. And that's coming up this Saturday.
We're glad to take part. Appreciate all you do. I tell you what, and Kim, I mean, you guys are doing heroic things down there. It's been fun to watch you and get everybody motivated and energized and really a unified voice. So we're proud to be part of it.
Thank you so much for that. Yeah. First of all, for anybody that doesn't know, can you let our audience know exactly who you are and how what's your relationship to the Moss and the beach and, how long you've been there and the whole thing?
Absolutely. So I'm part of the Freeland family. I represent 6 generations of Freelands. My father, George, bought Moss Marina back in 1982, so a little over 40 years. And I think most people, and especially business owners on the beach, know George pretty well. And I took the property over for the family about 2 years ago. So I was 1 year old when we moved to Fort Myers, went to high school there. I've got my 40-year class reunion coming up on the beach here in October. I went to Cypress Lake High School, so did all my brothers and sisters. So, and we've got generations in school there now. So long history in Southwest Florida.
So can you tell us what happened to that area during the storm? I mean, what was the damage?
Wow. It's like everybody, right? On the beach, I think we lost 4 out of 6 buildings on the property. And Gary Foco, our general manager, and the team worked, unbelievably hard to get things put back together. We're temporarily housing the U.S. Coast Guard while they're building their new station across the bay. So we were all out, trying to get job one, get them up and going again so they could start completing their missions. And we were able to get up and operational by the 1st of December. So it was incredible. But we lost buildings, but we've been able to put the pieces together, get the Coast Guard back going. Our operations are fully up. We're pumping fuel. Dry stack storage is going. We have wet slips open. We just don't have all of our utilities hooked up. Some backlog with ordering breakers and those types of things. But we're up in a modified version, but fully operational.
Somebody was asking me about renting slips. So you do have space available, wet slips?
Yeah, we've got a list coming. A lot of people are waiting for full-time power. So we have a few folks who've joined together and shared some generator power up, running lines down the docks. But yes, we have a few wet slips available. We're doing a fair amount of transient now. People are wanting to stop and come onto the island and partake of the things that are open. So the demand's been pretty good. So, but if we do have a few slips available.
I get a question every once in a while. I don't know the answer to it. Can you get fuel?
Oh yeah, yep. Fuel at the end of the dock. We've got 2 pumps open, so you can get diesel and regular. So we don't have the pumps on the shore up and going. As we're looking at all this, obviously we're like everybody else. You think you kind of know what's going on, and then you figure out more of the damage and what's happening. And as these plans start unrolling, we're starting to think about how we take it from here to the finish line. So, but fuel is up and pumping.
And all your dry storage is booked.
Uh, we might have just a handful left of the dry
Okay.
stack, depending on the size of boat. It's definitely worth calling. And we have some people coming in and out. Some are had come in and waiting for their docks to get repaired. So we're having a pretty quick turnover. We did some short-term deals for folks to help them out. So I wouldn't be afraid to call regardless of what boat you have. We might look full, but we might have something coming up pretty quickly.
Do you have room for a kayak? Just kidding.
We can do some kayaks, yes.
So, how long have you kind of been working on this idea? Did it just kind of snap when the storm?
Explain what the idea.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously people have started to see the plans and all that, and
Right.
But when did you first kind of think, or the group kind of think, that they wanted to do something different?
Well, when I took over for the family a little over 2 years ago, I was looking at the property longer term. Our barns were aging out. We had 2 of the barns were from the 50s. The other 2 that are still standing were our newest ones, built in the mid 80s. So, we're looking at what's the next generation of the property going to look like. And so we were in a 3-5 year window, kind of really start some low level conversations. And then, a 3 to 5 year plan became a today plan after September 28th. So that's kind of when things started evolving, and we started really, looking at what's the highest and best use, and then all the information about how many beds were lost on the island and all the businesses that are lost, and started really rethinking what could happen here that could really be a really long-term benefit to the island and to the whole area. And that's kind of how this thing evolved and got going so rapidly.
So how has I'm going to put the plans up and so folks can see it, that for what we have so far.
Sure.
What was the response from the town council? I know you've been meeting with the council, and there'll have to be a lot of presentations and things like that. So what has their response been?
Well, we met early with them before we got to this last stage, and just to float the idea, what if we did something bigger and a little more substantial based on what had happened to the island? And we got we got positive feedback. And I was like, I don't want to swim upstream with this. We've been on the island 40 years. I can put a marina right back up. We can put boat barns up and do what we've been doing, and that's fine. But I don't really want a big, deal with a lot of conflict, and I don't have 5 to 7 years to go through that type of deal. So I took the temperature, talked to some of the business neighbors, and got positive response. So then I said, all right, if we're going to do this, we're going to do it right. And we put a world-class development team together. We got positive feedback from the council, the LPA members we met with. In general, it was concept, so it wasn't like we laid a hard plan. But hey, if we want to go this kind of development, a little height, different layout that would really be, we think, better for the island overall, would they be open to the concept? And they were, and they've been really positive. And I'm not saying we have a perfect plan yet, but I think we've got a really good start to something that could be special.
And for those who haven't been following it as closely, just refresh everybody's memory as to what the plan was for, what are you planning to put there?
So we're looking to add to the marina use. It'd be a mixed use development. It would have the marina, hotel, restaurants, bars, retail. Be real, and the real key, I think, for the community is to open up the bayfront. There's really no public access to the bay other than Bayside Park, right? So that's only 50 feet wide. So this lets that turn and come all the way down, and lets the public start coming up and down the bayfront. And that's just a huge benefit, but it activates it all and gets people closer to the water. I mean, the Gulf side's fun. It's great to look at, take pictures. Some love to go out and swim and get in the Gulf side. But in the bays where you get on the boats, it's where you do kayak. It's where you get a charter boat. You go on tours. We're talking about water taxis and ferries. This is where you can really interact with the water. And we think if we can do that, more people get access to the water, not less. And that's that's a key part of it. But to do it, we've got to get the right mixed use development that goes around it.
When you say get the right mixed use development, you mean all the different elements that you've kind of put on the table for everybody to see. And I don't know, can you see this? Can you see
Yes.
this that I'm putting? Can you kind of take us through what your features are? This was from your website. I just kind of copied it, and
Yeah.
this is everything that you want to include.
Absolutely. So these are just some of the key features, but the bayfront, the baywalk I talked about,
And
multiple view corridors.
where would
Okay.
that go from that 1,000 feet? Would that be
That's on our
no.
property alone, but then it would connect through the neighboring properties. We're working with the Marina Village group to take that pool out and extend the seawall down. Talking to the Snug Harbor, how they'd go around the kitchen that's on the sidewalk there, but really let people come down Old San Carlos and hit Bayside Park, turn left, and be able to go all the way down. There is interest to even take it the other direction towards Matanzas End. There's a few issues there with Nervous Nellies and how the dock works, and so they're trying to work out some of those bugs. But we think we really have it where you can turn and come all the way down to the canal, right where the ship store used to be on our property. So now you have a nice long, over 1,000-foot bayfront park to walk back and forth on, access the docks, and get close to the water.
And so it wouldn't go through that community or the side street. It would just go down and come back. It would just
primary would be the pedestrian. We really see this
Okay.
mostly as a pedestrian development, right? You might come by car, but hopefully we'll have shuttles and different ways for you to get down there. But once you're there, you don't need to drive. I mean, everything's there. You can walk to the beach, to the pier, to the new Times Square, to Margaritaville, and all the great establishments up and down Old San Carlos, plus what we'll have to offer. So we really see that being kind of a barbell to what has always been on the Gulf side, but there's been very limited on the Bay side. You had to go buy a meal or something at one of the restaurants, or come and be a marina customer to actually get on the water to see the water. There's, other than that little 50-foot strip, there really was no public access.
No, and I think for me, because we don't live down there, as everybody knows, that when we started going to that, we were typical beach, Gulf side kind of folks. And then when
Right.
we went back there, and I guess we were at Snug Harbor, and it was like, wow,
It's a hidden gem. Yeah.
it is a hidden
Right.
gem because it is a very different experience. Still, you have the water, but it is a very different experience. It both good, but so
Yeah.
calm, and you can see, the manatees might be back there, and there's boats to watch
Right.
going by. I mean, it is a hidden gem, even for the uninitiated.
Yeah, and I think that's where you get, I call it personal with the water. I mean, that's where you get to see the dolphin up close. I mean, we had a dolphin with their little baby up, a few months ago, flipping it around right by the seawall. And like you said, the manatees or snook hitting bait right there. And it just gets, it's just a different experience. And I think it's really personal. It's where the family can enjoy it, but you can get in kayaks and go on a nature tour. You could take a charter boat and go out fishing. You can, the water taxi or ferry. Those are all things that get you back out on the water and gets a lot of people really accessible to that type of experience.
Getting a lot of love from the people that are watching in the chat box there. So the question I have, the first question I have is it zoned properly? Do you need to get some zoning changes?
Yeah, what we're looking to do, we're zoned marina, so we can do marina. We can complement some uses marina, but we can't really add the mixed use, the hotel portion. And where it extends is right on our property line. So what we want to do is have the downtown district extend across, include the bayfront, and incorporate into what's already going on Old San Carlos. So no more than what's on Old San Carlos. That's what we're looking to add into. We just think that opens it up, and for that kind of public access, we think it makes a lot of sense. And I mean, in Old San Carlos, proven that's what a great environment that is. It's pedestrian friendly and so much energy and vibrancy going on. If you add this on the end of it, I think it really just magnifies it in a positive way.
And how many hotel rooms?
Right now, we haven't signed the final deals, but we're envisioning 3 different hotel products. We think an extended stay product will work there, as well as a mid-range, mid-price hotel, and then probably a boutique luxury hotel. So then you'd have multiple price points in that product. And we think, in talking to hotel experts, you need about 150 rooms in a mid-range, 150 rooms in the extended stay, and a boutique luxury would be about 100. So that's 400 rooms total, is what we think is ideal. And when you look at it from a density, let's say Margaritaville on the lot there on with 254 rooms, that's 2.25 acres, something like that. Might be off a little bit, but we'd be a little lower density. We've got 5 acres. We're talking about 400 rooms. So, but we are looking for a little more height. And we think the height there is positive, not negative, because it allows us to get those rooms and all those offerings, but it leaves the end of the roads open. Now you can see the water, you can see the sky, you get breezes. Right now, you look at the side of a boat barn, right? It's, I love boat barns, but I don't know if I lived there, it'd be the best visual, and you don't get any breezes through it. Now you little height mid block, but your alleyways are open all the way to the water. You can also walk down to the water. So that's kind of the trade-off, but we think it's smart development. We're not looking for excess height or one big block of buildings.
So a question from Deborah: why would you have to remove the pool at Marina Villages at Snug Harbor? I stay there and use the pool every day.
Well, we wouldn't just remove it. We'd want to replace it, and that's not a done deal. So I don't want to get the cart before the horse, but what it does, it opens up the baywalk. That pool blocks the total bay, and it doesn't have to happen. You can still access the bay through our property, through other access points. If we're able to negotiate that, we'd replace that pool with something bigger and better for the Marina Village customers, as well as possibly the health club, because we're going to have those amenities. So it might lower cost for the timeshare owners in Marina Village and offer a better benefit for them. So, but that's up to them to decide. I don't have any. That's not a done deal, but we think that would really link Bayside Park right to our property, right on the bay, and would be a big benefit. So early conversations were positive, but that's not a done deal.
If rezoning is granted, what could you build within that zoning by right?
About what we've shown. The only thing we are looking for is a little more height, but not anything higher than Marina Village, and nothing that would block the view of the Gulf as you come over the bridge. So if you're going to put some height on the island, we think that's a great spot. It doesn't block any other view, right? The one that would be most affected would be the close residential neighbors, but we want to accommodate that with the lines of sight down the roads and access to the water. It gives them a better view than a lower barn with the blue and green stripe on it. We think this gives them better visibility, better breezes. But we need to show that and demonstrate it, but that's what we think is a better development. Julie
says that you need to explain Marina Village. And I guess not everybody understands everything that's going on down there, so that's fair.
Yeah, the 6-story or so building next door is a timeshare resort. They have 25 residential units, I believe, on the upper floors, and so they sell them by the week like other timeshares. So approximately 1,300 owners there. So people come in and out on their weeks, or they may rent them out if they're not coming. And then the bottom floors, I believe, are owned by the folks who use Snug Harbor and restaurant and the owner of that property. So
yeah,
those are.
I don't know if she knows where it's that building that sits kind of in between Wahoo Willie's and Snug Harbor. It's
absolutely.
Is it white and then brown? I mean, it's been there.
It's kind of tan. It's been there forever, since the 80s, and it's 6 stories tall, and we don't want to go any higher than that in any one building. And if we can vary the height as preferred, we definitely want a different look for each of the type of structures that we have. So it's a village. We want like a waterfront village look. And that's why we brought the designers in. We did. Again, what you're seeing so far is real preliminary. We'll have more versions of it coming out, but so that's you can kind of see.
What are we looking at here, man?
That's from Harbor Court, right? If you're coming down Harbor Court, you'd be looking through to Sunset Pavilion. So that looks straight out to the water underneath it. You'd see the water right through it. They didn't color it yet. And if you looked how the pavilion's kind of angled with the little lighthouse looking top on it, that points right to where the sunset happens down the end of the bay. And then that's the kind of the far northwest part of our bayfront. And then that would loop all the way around to the right, going all the way back towards Bayside Park. But we think that's a great public space, and you kind of see the flavor there that we really, we saw a lot of comments already about, hey, we want it to be Florida style and beachy. This is where you can see more of that. So the far off visual doesn't really look at the right where you got the balconies and the tin roof and the features around the lighthouse. That's the texture and feel that we're looking for in the product.
So
we wanted to. Go ahead.
If we're looking at this picture, to the right of the picture, that's one of the hotels, and to the left is one of the hotels, correct?
Yes. And straight ahead is the pavilion, like the plaza out there. And
Gotcha.
we call that the Sunset Pavilion.
Okay, so that would be closer to the water. This lighthouse thing is closer to the water.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Right along the bayfront. Yep. So that'd be the right here.
So now we're looking at it from the water, and you could see the 3 hotels, and I guess this lighthouse is way over to the right here that we were just looking at from the other angle.
Correct.
And you've got the dock all along out here in front of the 3 hotels.
Yeah, and that's a sample of the dock on the left-hand edge. That white building, that's Marina Village.
Village, right.
Okay.
Gotcha.
So do those connect in the back?
A couple of them do, but most of them do not. And I don't know, that's not the best angle. I have them painted it from a little more to the right so you can see all the lines of sight. So there's actually openings between the 2 orange face buildings. Mm-hmm. If we're a little bit to the right, you'd see the corner of 3rd and Old San Carlos. And you see a straight line down Bonita Street right next to the orange building on our right. And between that one and the white far right building is Harbor Court, and where the Sunset Pavilion would be. And you see straight down Harbor Court. So there's all these great lines of sight that this one angle just didn't show, but it does show the depth. What they liked about it, it showed the depth of how the buildings come out, and they'll have varying faces on them and styles. And to be honest, they were drawing and painting that like the last 15 minutes right before everybody walked in on Friday. So we'll have updated versions, but we want it to feel like the beach. We want it to represent it. But we want to bridge to where we need to go, right? We all got to build up now to this higher, base flood level. And we got to do all these things that we know now can happen on the island. So when you do that, things kind of get pushed up, but how do you do it wisely and make it so it fits over time? We want that to be relevant 20, 30 years from now. We don't want it to be out of date 10 years later.
Where would parking be?
Yep.
All under those buildings is parking, right? So base flood elevation's got to go up so high. So behind our pavilions and our bay walk, that's all going to be public access, will be the parking. And then we have a structured parking in the back that we have our pool on top of that would be facing the south and looking over towards the Gulf. So we're going to over park it. We're going to have plenty of parking for our customers. We don't think they're going to need a whole lot. So we think we're going to have a lot of excess for the public. We're planning, we've met with all the larger employers and resorts on the island already about sharing guest shuttles from the airport and about sharing employee shuttles, get people onto the island without driving cars. Because we know especially the guests, once they're here, they don't need to drive, right? And if we can get employees on and off the island without sitting in traffic, they'll want to come to work, and we can maintain better quality employees. So having people sit in traffic for an hour each way, it's hard to keep people employed that way. So we want to come up as a group and work together. And we had unanimous support to help resolve a lot of these issues as we move forward, work with Lee County, TDOT, and obviously the island, the town itself. So we think we've got great energy around a lot of these things.
What is the town asking for you to put on the table to trade off some of the things you might be asking for? What do they want?
Well, the biggest thing is the public access to the bay, right? I mean, that's huge. 1,000 feet by 30 feet wide public access that's the big enchilada. And then, obviously the other things that are brought up, they'd love to see a water ferry, touching different marinas going up and down the island and let people go back and forth, especially in season. So we haven't got to that. We're not in for application. This isn't in front of them to vote right now. We want community input. We love all the stuff we've been seeing on your website. And I don't mean just the positive stuff. I love the the items that are great suggestions are, hey, I just don't, I don't like 400 rooms. Well, if you say that to me, I just say, well, what don't you like about 400 rooms? Is it the traffic? Is it the height, noise? Tell me what it is about 400 you don't like, because there is a certain math you have to have now to develop and do this kind of project. It's got to pay for itself, right? So, so then we can tackle the issue that you're really concerned about. And we've had, and I can say we had great recommendations from the neighbors in the back. A couple of items we didn't know, so I went and met with them one-on-one. I've had a little, one of my great niece had she goes, where's the playground for kids? We didn't have it setting out front. So a lot of little things that I'm sure we plan to incorporate, but pop up, and the best ideas are going to come right now. And we want to hear it now so we can adjust and modify before we get into application, before we get into construction, because a simple fix now is a huge problem later.
People are asking about this, and this is an issue that especially Bill Veach brings up a lot. It's not affordable for employees that work at all these restaurants and hotels to live on Fort Myers Beach, and there's really no way to get them to their jobs without them getting stuck in traffic, or or having them to pay for parking. So how do we solve that issue?
My opinion is you need to solve it for all of them, and that's where I think you need to have shuttle rides for employees to get on the island through the traffic. If those shuttles sit in the lane of traffic, it doesn't do any good. They may as well sit in their own car, right? If we can't get them an express lane, and I mean from Summerlin Road up to the bridge, so they can get on and get to their job and the same coming off, then we can make a difference. And that's the goal. And that's what all the major employers were 100% unified about, trying to get that done, work with the town, and same with our hotel guests. If we share hotel shuttles from the airport, bringing our guests in so they don't have to rent a car and clog up traffic more. But if they're going to sit in traffic, they're not going to do it. So we need to find that way. And then you've already got the trolleys and the tram and other things that need that ability to get in and out. And I'm not just talking about the bridge portion. I'm talking about the whole line going down San Carlos Boulevard to get to the bridge. So that's what we're working with now, trying to work with FDOT, Lee County, and the town to figure out ways to solve that problem. Because I could add workforce housing, but if I put 10 units of workforce housing, or you pick some number, that's only 10 of a big problem.
Right. But I haven't heard a single feasible solution. The road is the road. I mean, it's only got certain number of lanes, and it's got
5 lanes. It has 5 lanes now. They just don't allow that middle lane to be isolated for emergency vehicles and for that type of transit. So that's what we're working towards.
I see.
That's got to be bigger than me. I mean, I'll do everything I can, but I can't solve it alone. That's why we wanted to go ahead and bring in the other large employers. Say, hey, are you guys open to this? And 100% unanimous support. And same with the taxi, the water taxi.
I'm trying to think of the little bridge between the first little bridge you go over. That's got 5 lanes too.
At Prescott?
Yeah.
Oh, like where the double light is, you mean?
Yeah.
Like Hurricane Pass?
Yeah.
I don't know. So I'm sure your readers know, or your listeners. So,
or were you suggesting that people would park like up where the bus depot is, and then go over
together?
Yeah. And
what about a water taxi? I mean, could people get to the base of the bridge, park there, and take a walk?
It's the same thing, driving through all that traffic. Is there any way to get to the island?
Well, there's Lee County has a lot there where the boats are, and so there's some talk about what's possibility there. But some of these I don't think we've had a unified voice from the business community. That's what they told me when we all got together. Like we've never all sat at the table,
right?
And I'm like, well, hey, I'm like, would you help push this forward? So again, I'm part of the solution. I can't, we don't have the sole stake in this, but I think the state, we had state representatives there, we had Lee County representatives. I think there's an energy around it. I think everybody wants to help the beach after this horrific storm. So if we're ever going to get it solved, the best chance is right now.
Well, and I would imagine from what I've been hearing from folks, the folks that were living on the beach and working on the beach were in rental properties that very likely are not going to be available, at least not at a price that's affordable. So the situation before might not have been, great, but it's really going to
Right.
get tough to get people down there now. I mean, I remember talking to employees at a place, I won't mention who, but I mean, they would just be like, I'm, spending $10 and 2 hours and I haven't even
Right.
earned a dime,
Yep.
before, and that's really unfair to expect people to be willing to do.
Yeah, and they're not going to, or at least not consistently. It's going to be rare. And so, how do you run a really good business, and how do you take a job like that and stay in it? I mean, I think a lot of them love the beach, love that atmosphere, and can make a good living if they could just get on and off the island, right? So maybe the water taxi is part of it. Maybe there's other parking and other spots. So we're exploring all those options. The employers know that has to get fixed,
Yep.
right? And it helps traffic along the way, right? So, but I think that's part of it. And you brought up a good point. The cost of that bed, we look at it from, people are like, oh my gosh, that's 400 hotel rooms. Do you know how many beds were lost on the island, right? Thousands, and they're not coming back. And if they do, they're not going to be the same bed they were before. It's not going to be the same price point. It's not going to be in the same spot. So where do you want to replace that bed, and what's the right place? And we think that's why that's what got me to say, hey, let's really think bigger here. This is where they should go. This is the downtown district. It has all the walkability. It's got the street network. You got First, Second, Third, Fifth Avenue. You got Old San Carlos. You got Margaritaville, Times Square. This is where the action should be. And so, if you're going to start replacing some of that, this is the ideal place to put it.
If they were talking about, and I've heard Jim Adderhole talk about the water taxi thing a lot. So
Yep.
what is his concept of where the water taxi would go and how often it would come back and forth to the different spots and where these people would be parking to get on it?
All right. So we talked to a few of the marina operators. We need to get the other ones in, but I'm just going to, and these aren't, so don't go anticipate all these guys have said yes yet, but just imagine if they could go from Moss Marina to Snook Bite to Fishtail to Salty Sam's to Golf Star and come around and you have that every 30 minutes, right? And you could go from tip to tip of the island. Maybe we even take it to Ballast Point and Peak Shell, and you go all the way to Lover's Key and Johnson Park. There's ways to really make this pretty special, and that's an experience. It'd be kind of like doing a double-decker bus in the city. You go visit, you go on and off however you want. There's a fee per day, and so we think there's a high likelihood that's going to go down. What it looks like, I can't give you the hard details yet, but I think that's a real possibility that has some strength to it.
Where, in your opinion, Ben, where should there be a parking garage?
I think, where we are, I think there should be one somewhere down in the downtown district, right? So there needs to be some there. There needs probably at each of the nodes. If you really look at how the beach is zoned, they have the nodes for where they want development. And if you want development in those nodes, put parking garages in those nodes. Mm-hmm. That's my idea. And expand your tram service, expand your trolley service, get this water taxi going, get employee shuttles, get guest shuttles. That's what we can do to put better in here. But I'll tell you, I'm 1 year old since I've been going to the beach. You know what was on every time you go to the beach? There's always a line of traffic.
Right.
I personally believe we could put 10,000 parking spots on the beach tomorrow that we don't have, and the line would be gone for just a little bit. And as soon as the other 1.5 million people in Southwest Florida knew there wasn't a line to the beach, they'd go create another one. And the people try to go to the beach. I said, you could take the bridge out. They'll row bathtubs across the bay to get to the beach. It doesn't, so the demand, it's just a magnet, right? It's wonderful. So let's do these other things that really make it easy to get around once you're there.
Yeah. Even now with all the debris down there, they're still climbing over the debris to get to the beach. So you're right. They're coming.
Right. The demand is there. It's just a magnet. Our hearts are pulled by that. And so let's make it easier and let's make smarter development. So once they get there, they don't have to drive around. They're not going down to Mid Island. We'd like to put a little grocery store in our complex. So now there's grocery for the north end of the island. You don't have to drive to the Mid Island to just restock your boat or your condo or your home. So there's all these little things I think that can make a lot of difference.
What is the biggest criticism been so far that you think you're going to need to go back and work on?
Just what, right? Traffic and parking, traffic, parking,
Yep.
Then height. Wait a minute. Why is it so big? And so, but I want to hear those, and I want to hear what can we do? But I want to explain the height there. It's like, well, and I don't want a big block, a wall of buildings. I don't want 5 stories going 1,000 feet long. I want variation. I want some personality to it. I want I want different products. So you can, I want local vendors. We see that whole bayfront full of good local restaurants and drink spots and retailers that they had great little storefronts tucked in all these nooks and crannies. Those aren't coming back. We can do that here with some shared space in the back with storage and back of house sharing, maybe with cooler space and freezer space and kitchen. But then you can have a smaller retail front so you can afford it. And you can go out and have a lot of customers at your disposal. So now it's affordable. You can go have a beer, get some fried fish, and sit on the bayfront and real casual. Or if you want to go have a nicer meal, you can do that. You want to go to the rooftop bar and see both sides, see the Gulf, see the bay. We have those type of offerings. So I think variety is what makes the beach work. There's a lot of people with all types of means and backgrounds, and they all blend together really well. So you have to offer all those types of options so people can partake in what they enjoy, but they all have a common denominator. They want to be casual, laid back, and enjoy the vibe.
What are the next steps for you? I know you're still looking for community input, and how do you have that all set up now?
So archesbayfront.com. We've got over 1,100 people registered on it. We've got over 125 surveys filled out. Fill out the survey, and that's where we're posting everything. We're not hiding anything. So I'm putting everything out there up front. Again, we haven't applied for a permit. We've just met with everybody. We're taking feedback, but we're trying to, I call it a 3-leg stool. We've got to do what's good for the neighbors next door, residential neighbors, and we got to do what's good for the businesses up and down the island and the whole island. And we got to make sure it's financially viable. If I can connect those 3 dots or legs of the stool, then we got a pretty good project we can work on. And if one of them doesn't work or gets too much of advantage over the other one, then it's not balanced. It's not going to work out. So that's why we came to this type of design, kind of where we're at. So we think there's benefits to in a trade-off. Perfect world, everything would be low and flat and be cheap and affordable, and we won't have any hurricanes and all that type of stuff. But that's just not reality. So we have a path to do it.
So go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask, with the current plan that you have now, and how flexible are you on the amount of rooms, and where's that line where it's still going to be profitable, but if you needed to downsize to meet some regulation or rule, you could do that, or where are you standing on that?
So we just have to find out where that is. I think the problem with our site is with dry stack, right now we have dry stack buildings. And if I've got those lifts running to the seawall, you can't walk up and down the seawall. So I have to have enough that I don't have to put those dry stack in. That will be mostly a wet slip and Focus Marina and fuel and some other things out there. And so if I, go with the third, it has, they're telling me that a boutique hotel there for that kind of money, they have to pay to build it, has to be a minimum of 100 rooms. So if I was just at 100, I don't know that I could build a boutique hotel that would make any sense, because I still got to have a working marina right next to it and no bayfront.
So the marina that you have there now, that stays.
But except the dry stack.
Yeah.
Okay.
Modified though. If we get everything we're sharing with the public now, if we can get those 3 products and can do all that, then we can do the bayfront, and we would lose our dry stack. Right.
Okay.
And that's the trade-off. But for those couple hundred boats, you get thousands of people that get exposure to that bayfront in different ways that they don't have access now. Because you've got to be a customer of the marina really to come on our property. I mean, we don't mind, we don't care, we've never really gated it off, but that's private property, it's a business. So,
Right.
And same with like Snug Harbor. I mean, you're not going to go take your lawn chair and go lay out in the sun at Snug, right? You got to go buy a sandwich and drink a beer and check it out. So
your trade-off
this
is
kind of opens that up.
you're giving people public access to private property is part of the trade-off,
Right.
For the deal. So it's 400 rooms. Is in your mind, is there you can't go below 400 for it to make financial sense?
No, I'm not saying that.
Okay.
But
Sorry.
Explain what else do we need to do? Why is it 400? Why does it need to be 300 or 200 or 1 or whatever? Let's just explain it and make sure we have the right development, and then I can run the financial numbers and say, okay, does that make sense? But I just don't just say, well, I don't like the number. It just doesn't sound right. What's the point? Is that the height? Is it traffic? Is it the noise? Let's get a little deeper and tell me what about it you don't like. And then let's talk through that. And then we'll come up with something that works. And if it's financially viable, I'll push forward. If it's not, I want to be, we're going to be here a long time no matter what. So we don't want to have this be a big rub either way. That's not the goal. The goal is to do something that most of the people feel good about, that the council feels positive if they can support. LPA can look at it and go, hey, that makes sense. And we think, we think with this leadership team, not me, but the development team, that this could be kind of a template for other, whatever they call those nodes, to kind of look at, and some people are like, well, Margaritaville's lower and different. Well, that's the building that's appropriate on that site doesn't mean it's appropriate on this site. And if you go to Santini Plaza, whatever they do there someday will be totally different than either one of the other two. They should be. They have unique assets and constraints and things that they need to look at. And I think we need to look at it in that form. Look at that property that we're presenting. What's good and bad about this plan? And let's chew on that. Let us modify it. See if we can get it right where it meets all those things.
And one of the
about is the business generating good room revenue? Go ahead.
One of the things that I noticed about a spot in Lee County, 6 Mile Cypress and Colonial, they've got this area of stores and development that, I mean, the big giant golf courses there, and they've just jammed so much stuff into one space that the traffic is impossible. They can't keep up with the roads so that their people aren't waiting 9 stops at a light before they can make a turn, no matter what time of the day it is. They just overdeveloped that one spot. I'm no engineer. I'm just from being there every day. So when let's say you get 400 rooms and you get a grocery store and you get the park is open and you got the Nervous Nellies is open, can that area withstand all of that?
Yes, it's built to be pedestrian, right?
Okay.
That's where most of that traffic is going to come from. The hotel guests they don't drive around. They get on that island, and what do you need to drive for? Right. And especially if you put it in a place like that. Now, if you put one somewhere random where they have to drive to everything, they got to drive back to Old Carlos to have a beer and a sandwich and go to Snug, whatever they're going to do, or go to the pier, then they're going to drive their car. You put the rooms where they should be, where it's already designed to be pedestrian. And if they do drive there, it's a one-way trip and a one-way out. But if they're there for 3 or 4 days, they're not doing that. Right. And have your parking for your regional folks. So we think that's why we want to do plenty of parking, because we think there's going to be a fair amount of that. But I think that's the right spot based on talking to the experts, studying the traffic and the habits of people who go to places like this. It's not an in and out and around, and you're not like running by that's not that kind of grocery shop. And it's going to be, people are going to walk over there and go to their condo. They maybe have to take the tram, ride a bike, put it in their basket and go back. So we think that's what it's designed for there. And will there be some traffic? Yes. It's never going to be.
Right.
We're kind of losing Ben.
Well, the other thing too is Bicycles. No, I'm talking to you. Getting bicycles, golf carts. I mean, different ways for people to get around without having their cars down there. That's going to be the thing. Is you hung up on him?
I didn't. I'm
Oh.
just gonna send him a text to let him know that his internet crapped out on him. You saw it there. It was stuff. I can read an ad while I'm doing that. So we're gonna try and get Ben back on. We didn't plan it this way. Crapped out. Okay, so we'll get Ben back on. But I did want to let everybody know that if you need an appraisal, I can't do this without my headphones on. Stay tuned, folks. When Ben comes back on, we'll finish it up. If you need an appraisal, Steve's Appraisal Service is who you want to call. They're a small local husband and wife team, and appraisal can help your home from the 50-50 rule or cut your income taxes. Cut your income taxes from the prior 2 years with a casualty loss appraisal that determines the loss in market value before and after. And you can ask your accountant about that. So Steve's Appraisal Service, they are at stevesappraisalservice.com, or you can call them 239-837-8379. That's 239-837-8379. And we thank Steve and his wife for being sponsors of the show. And Ben is back. He's got his internet connection back up. So you're fuzzing out on us a little bit over there, Ben. Yeah, I don't know if you can you hear us okay? Oh, he's trying.
That's a little.
Yeah.
It's pixelated.
Can you hear us, Ben? Oh, he's gone again. So anyway, that was very informational. We got a lot of info on there, and we will, of course, keep everybody up to date on when the next few meetings are. And I really wanted to ask him when his first application into the town would be, or when he's going to take that next step. So there'll be like public meetings in front of the LPA or public meetings in front of the town council. So I'm sure we'll be able to get him on again and ask him those questions. Maybe this Saturday when we're at Moss Marina for our concert, which begins at 4:30. And looks like he's trying with his phone.
Yeah, can I get in another way?
There you go.
You're in.
Can you hear us okay?
Can you hear us?
Yeah. Yep.
All right. Then the question I was just asking Kim, and she didn't know the answer, unfortunately, was when do you think you'll be able to, like you want to make your first application to the town?
So the goal would be, that we get most of the questions and suggestions out between now and May 15th. We're having the final open house for the public. You can come in person then. It'll be at Pink Shell Resort, and we'll take final comments, and people who can't do it online and want to come in person can come then. And then we'll make any adjustments we need. And if it's minor and we can go ahead and start filing, we'll file at that time. If it's like, say it's cosmetic or it's different things, it's not really structural or like traffic changing, we'll move forward. If not, we'll make modifications. We plan to file in June, as long as we feel like we've got the right kind of plan together. And then we anticipate that would take through the balance of the year, probably, to get the approvals we need. And then we would start taking things out to bid, getting construction drawings and things through next year, as that moves forward, and put them out to bid, and then get building permits, and probably sometime late next year start breaking ground, or it could be the end of the year.
We talked a lot about earlier in the show about traffic and, getting people down there. Would you, is that going to change your plan? Are you going to have some assurance that something's going to be in place, or is it kind of an offside thing?
Clarify that. Is that you're talking about employee traffic or transit shuttles? And that type of thing,
you made a suggestion. You were talking about FDOT, changing the lane use and getting water taxis and all of that stuff.
That's a bigger plan, though, right?
Right. Yeah, it is a bigger plan, but
that's why we're going to put in extra parking now. So part of the plan is to go ahead and add the parking. And our traffic expert is going through studying destination resort kind of things like this, where you come and park and say, look at what that trip generation is. I mean, we already generate trips there as a marina, right? And George had the Big M Casino there for 15 years. They were doing 400 passengers twice a day for 15 years, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So we've had traffic to that site over the years for sure. So that's a offset, right? Somewhat, and we're going to have parking. So still think it's the right thing, but I think there's better solutions. But I don't think we would stop waiting for the
Got it.
That's a
the
bigger
shuttle
thing with so many
approval.
more people. So many more people need to be involved in that. So you mentioned, I just want to make sure I get the dates correct. You mentioned between now and May 15th, final comments. Is there going to be a day where you're set up somewhere, or is that all online?
No, that's we're set up at Pink Shell Resort May 15th in
Okay.
person. So on the
Gotcha.
website, to go to archesbayfront.com, all the dates and times are on there. And we'll be posting everything. We'll have everything on that site. So as we come up with more iterations of the drawings for people to see different angles, different concerns, and we hear what people are saying, if we think we can demonstrate how we've addressed it or how we possibly could, we're going to try to keep doing that and evolve, and then hopefully address most of the issues that we can that are that we can get done early on. It's easy now to adjust a plan.
Where did you come up with the arches? Is that anything to do with the old arches? Somebody was asking me that today.
Absolutely. So I mean, I just thought of that as a kid. There's an old picture of our family waiting in line under the arches with the swing bridge open when I was I don't forget how old I was, probably 4 or 5. And once it hit me, and I was watching like Restore the Arches initiative, and I ended up calling the head of it and talking to him and saying, "Hey, what if we do this? How would y'all feel about it?" And so they seemed really supportive. So we're going to have on the Baywalk, we want to have a memorial type deal for the arches and the history of them. And I've got some stuff we're probably going to announce. I've actually have a call with them later to kind of talk about how we can support them and their efforts moving forward. So they've been working at it a fair amount of time. So we'd like to be a big supporter of those guys. But we just thought it was a great bridge from the history of the past to where the beach is going. So it just made sense to me.
So that's Ray McDonald's group.
That is. So I've been talking to Ray.
Okay, so do you know if you guys do something there, that means they probably wouldn't do something at Bowditch Park, which is where they were planning on doing that? You trying to move it over to where you are?
No, I don't think.
Okay.
I'm going to talk to Ray and see.
Okay.
So that's what I want to do, something in conjunction that they feel good about. I mean, they put a lot of work into this. I don't need to come in and derail a plan, right? So I want to compliment it. I want it to, I think that's probably the right thing to do. They've been raising money and got a plan already, and but if we can do something here as well to complement that, maybe steer people down to go down there and experience it, understand the history of the beach, I think it's just another positive.
I've been saying this for a while. When they do get Bayside Park all fixed up again, and if your construction gets rolling, that whole side of the beach is going to be way different and might be a bigger magnet than Times Square. It just seems like Times Square isn't going anywhere. There's not even a plan to have a plan yet, and so that side of Old San Carlos is really coming along nicely. Nervous Nelly's gets back open. Harbor House has been open, and Wahoo Willie's has been open.
Well, I tell you what, we had a nice surprise last week. We were working, 11, 12-hour days, and about 6:30 or so at night, one of the nights, I hear a big rumble out in the lobby of Pink Shell, and there's, I don't know, 20 business property owners from up and down to Old San Carlos and Times Square and Crescent, and they all came in just to say, hey, we're supportive and want to do the right thing. And so there's a lot of energy there. I think they're going to figure that out and do what they can. I mean, there's like all of us, there's limitations to what you can get done, but those guys, they've been around a little bit. They know how to get things done, and they're going to come back in the proper form, and we're excited to be part of it.
Well, thanks so much for your time. We look forward to covering this and following this and being part of it.
Yeah, and tell your listeners, please just keep giving us feedback, good, bad, and ugly. We like it all, but try to explain it if you would. That way we can really try to do the right thing with the information.
And we'll leave the website up there, archesbayfront.com, for your feedback. And as soon as you get on the site, you'll see you can sign up for information in an email that they send out to you. It's a little pop-up box where you can put your email address in there and get information from the group too. Thanks, Ben, and good luck, man. Thanks a lot.
Hey, thank you guys. And again, the work you guys are doing is just incredible. Just keep up the good work, and it's really inspiring for all of us.
Thanks a lot.
All right, we'll see you Saturday, right?
See you Saturday. Yep. Thanks. All right, everybody. That's the website right there, archesbayfront.com, and you can get all the information there. You can see the drawings there. You can see the all the list of things that I had up earlier that they're planning on putting there. So, what do you think?
I think that for me, just I can't visualize it in those pictures. So I know he said that, those are kind of early drawings or whatever. I would like to see it from above.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to see it laid out from above and how close it is. Somebody mentioned about that there is a community behind that area, and we were down back there well, I've been down back there on the bike rides, but we were also down back there with the fire.
Mhm.
And yeah, I would want to see, because when he said 5 acres, it's just hard to see how it's laid out, but
We shall see. I mean,
shall see.
and
Hey.
and if everything gets approved, that's quickly moving right along in June. I mean, I guess we're so used to TPI getting kicked in the nuts for 5 years or 7 years or 100 years or whatever it was, and that project taking forever before. It's by the way, our walk around on Saturday morning is going to be at TPI. We got they topped off the deck. I got a picture of that from Tom today, and we're going to get a nice little tour, an updated tour of Margaritaville on Saturday, which is going to be cool. And you can see that building is coming along. They put some paint on the building, and it's hopefully that'll open up later on this year, and that'll be the first step of many more openings on Fort Myers Beach. So that looks nice Saturday morning. The Mondays with the Mayor show didn't happen today.
In case you were wondering,
Ben is not the mayor, but the mayor will be on tomorrow night at 6:00. So if you have any questions, you can send them along to Ed Ryan, the editor, at gmail.com, and we will ask Dan. Of course, we'll ask him about this project and many others tomorrow night. And we will have a story on the Estero Boulevard debris piles in our newsletter tomorrow. So hopefully you subscribe to that. Is there anything you want to add?
No, I just would like to thank everybody for their unique suggestions for traffic solutions. Really
I must have missed those. It was more than the water taxi. Is that what it was?
Yeah, somebody said a monorail, and somebody was like an underwater monorail. I mean,
Like a Disney monorail.
yeah, or like, I don't know, those things like when you,
I don't know. Is there ever going to be a way to solve that problem of that line coming over the beach?
just kind of,
The only way I see it is if you
said about Bunch Beach.
yeah.
Now, that is kind of catty corner to that area. I just don't know the parking there. I mean, I was at Bunch Beach recently, and there's, it's a street, but there's mangroves on each side of it. So that's an interesting idea.
Well, it's nice to see that they're all getting together to
Yeah.
talk about a solution for the employees, because I mean, you got to get the employees over there and
You're not doing anything without employees.
Yeah. And they're not getting paid, $100 an hour to
No.
work at the places they go to. So, I mean, they should have free parking, or there should be a way to get them there, and they don't have to sit in traffic, less cars in
I
traffic.
think if all this gets going, you and I are going to buy some of those big shuttle vans, because we're so close to the airport, and we can just whoosh, whoosh, whoosh.
Maybe we can get Elon Musk to create one of those George Jetson mobiles and just kind of drop them like
Okay.
that.
End the show.
All right, everybody. We'll see you
Like a
tomorrow
movie?
night.
Wait.
No, just one of the Jetson mobiles. Where you put in 5 or 6 employees. All right. We'll see you all tomorrow night for Tuesdays with the Mayor. You all have a great night, and thanks for joining us. Bye-bye.